I
Well, we can do
started recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in what ways do you see the culture industry trying to manipulate you?
I feel like the industry is kind of trying to like make something popular when especially with like a celebrity, like from last lecture that we learned about, is like they get the celebrities to advertise this one product or this like one like thing that people are wearing, and they like, so people are like, oh, I want to look like this, I want to look like this, and that's like whole group of people are like all buying the same thing, and like because they want to look a certain way, what's popular. So I think that's how like industries are like kind of manipulating in a way.
Yeah, I feel like we just have more celebrities now because, I mean, you're famous on Instagram and you're considered an influencer, and that gives you some kind of credibility all of a sudden to be, like promoting these products and getting all these procedures done and like getting the procedures already paid for because you're gonna advertise for it, and then people are like, oh, you got that facial, I want to go get it. So I totally see how you're doing that, and it kind of also creates like, in the same way that we were talking about the herd, like the herd mentality or whatever, or I guess it's like how do you say it? It's like homogenization
Homogeneity, I think.
or something. It creates a following of people who aspire to be just like that. So, I mean, there's like a leader and there's a whole group of followers. And with all stuff being online, like everybody's on their phone 24/7.
Like the Kardashians and like the fit teas that they promote that are like not super healthy for you, but people do it anyway.
Yeah. And the same thing, it's funny because like the Kardashians would always talk about those salads they would get. I don't know if y'all watch the show, but they would go to this place and get the salad, and then they would post about it and be like, oh yeah, I just eat this, and like it's technically like a diet and it makes me skinny or whatever. And then you look up the calories of it. I think I read an article about this. People are like paid to write specifically just about the Kardashians, but whatever. And it was like, oh yeah, this salad actually isn't that healthy either. So you really don't know if anything is credible, but we pay attention because we think the person is of like a higher esteem.
Yeah, I mean, like it also like affects like the beauty standards and all of that, because like now like everybody wants to go and get like butt implants and stuff.
Yeah.
Like nose jobs are super popular. I mean,
Yeah.
it's also kind of like like you can get famous on Instagram. Like I'm sure there's people who kind of like invest on like buying a bunch of like surgeries so that they could become like influencers, which is
Yeah.
Even
kind of like a dark
Hadid, I mean,
thing to think
like
about.
I love the whole Hadid family, like they're all models, like the mom's a model, I think the dad is famous for something, but she
Bella?
did surgery. Like there are pictures of her before and after where she has like a normal round eye shape, and then it's legit like she
Yeah.
becomes this cat eye, and I'm like, so many people actually do that now, and it's crazy to me because
Yeah.
that's gonna change. Like things are going to constantly evolve, and like maybe it'll come back at one point. But in a few years, like maybe the cool thing will to have like a small butt. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, that's true. It used to be like, oh, does my butt look big? And people would be
Yeah,
like, it'd be an insult if you said yes. And now it's like people want their butt. Like, styles and trends like change all the time. Like, because the whole like the fox eye thing that like Bella Hadid did, like, I see a bunch of like people on TikTok like doing like makeup hacks to kind of give you that fox like look like without having the surgery. So it's like you can see how like everybody like is trying to like follow that trend, and everybody wants to be like this one person. And but also sometimes I do feel like I see a lot of people like, not, there's a few people that want to like stand out and they want to be different and they want to like almost like do their own thing and start their own trend. So I think there are some people that like that, and then once that becomes cool, it's like, oh wait, I don't want to like you're part of like the masses of everybody else too.
it is crazy to think about. We're kind of being brainwashed to find that attractive, especially if you were to compare it. Even like early 2000s, the fact that we're all rocking high-rise jeans now, like the thing is to be high-waisted, big hips, big butt. If we were back in the 2000 era, like 2000 to 2010, it was low-rise jeans, like those huge glasses. Like I'm binge watching The Hills right now, and they're all just trying to be so skinny. It looks like they're all doing drugs because they're so skinny. And yeah, if you were to compare that now, people would be like, what? But then I mean, high-rise jeans were popular in the 80s. So I kind of agree with the whole theory that it repeats itself.
For sure. Like, I mean, talking about jeans, like skinny jeans were super popular, like more popular, like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago. And now, like, the more like hippie, like flared out jeans are starting to get worn more.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially with like clothing, like right now, I think like 90s and like 80s fashion is like what people are kind of like going for. And so like, I don't know, like the old stuff comes to like be like what's new and what's in. So
Yeah.
it's for sure like just a cycle of like repeating itself, which is what Adorno and Horkheimer said about like everything is in just like a loop.
Yeah, I mean, we see it in the fashion industry, but then even with music, I mean, most, I guess, rappers or like hip hop artists will sample a lot of music that's older, and it's like, oh my god, this beat is so cool, but then you find the original song and it's like, oh, what? Like, this actual song is good too. All artists do. Like, Beyonce did it a lot in her Lemonade album, and Kanye does it all the time. I even kind of feel like on TikTok, the whole 70s psychedelic kind of sound is really popular again too. I mean, it'll kind of be like paired up with this EDM like techno part, but for the most part, I feel like a lot of it sounds to me like music from the 70s. So
I feel like Miley Cyrus is starting, like I've noticed like she just did the Heart of Glass cover and stuff, and she's going into that more, that more like rock and roll like genre of music, and like I love that. Like I love like 70s 80s rock music, and the fact that she's like kind of like doing that genre, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's like again like a cycle. Like artists like for music industry and fashion industry, like there are like it is a recycling thing. Like you see trends happening over and over again for sure.
For sure.
I think it works because you have so many people who like you get their attention and they're like, oh, this is cool, we're gonna try and recreate that. And then once it spreads out enough, it's kind of like, no, we're gonna change it. And then a new idea comes back, but maybe it's like the idea comes because you're getting inspiration from a different time or like a piece of something of the past, and because it's different, that's why it's attractive. So then that's why it repeats itself, because it's like, oh, we're done with all this, like everybody knows about it, so we're going to move on and like follow you who had this new idea. And that's just kind of like why it works so well. So I mean, that's kind of like worth mentioning. But in the same way too, like things do repeat themselves, like how we were kind of talking about before we started recording, how like TV shows will do reboots. I guess people kind of like familiarity too.
It also like makes sense to do like if you're recycling stuff, then you kind of like you're using something that you've done before, and like if it was popular, that means that it was like successful, like they made money off of it. So you kind of like it's already gone through like the trials. So if you do it again, you know it's gonna be like popular and successful. So it kind of like makes sense from like a capitalist like standpoint that like we're just getting the same version, like different versions of the same thing so that they could like take all our money pretty much.
Yeah.
I guess that's how they're manipulating us too. Like that's the like they know exactly what people liked in the past, so they're just it's like nothing. I feel like not that many things are really new anymore. Like it's just a lot of like, oh, like people, it's like, oh, this is what's cool now. It's like 90s and 80s stuff, and it's like people are really like, what? Like that was cool way back then, but now it's like coming back. And I feel like you're right that the whole like industry knows what works well, and they just want your money, and that's all they care about. So
yeah, we're just consumers.
Yeah. But we fall for it every time, so.
Thinking about it is so terrible. Like, how do I become like the producer?
Yeah.
I want to make the money.
I know, yeah. Influencer, I mean, what a life. Like, you just try some product and make millions off of a post. I can do that. I probably could make it, but like
crazy. Like I don't remember the numbers, but like the Kardashians, every single like fit tea post, they make like millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's stupid how much money you make. My friend even works for a bathing suit company, and they're not big by any means at all, but they have to reach out to people and ask them to like try on a bathing suit and take a picture in it. And the girl who owns the company will pay people thousands of dollars for a single Instagram post. Not even like you know how you can do a collage of like up to 10 pictures in one post, just for one picture. It's like $1,000.
Damn.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I think that's why like the industries like go to these like famous people because they know like that they have so much influence on us. So they're like they know exactly like that's why they pay so much money because it's worth it because they're probably going to like get that money back with like how many people are trying to buy it because this one person has it.
It makes sense. I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
In one of the videos that we watched, they were talking about how like ads pretty much like make up the money. Like if a company's like losing money or something, then ads are pretty much selling like us because like we will see the ad and like maybe some people will buy it, maybe some people won't, but like we're technically like worth money, but we don't see any of the money. It's like all of the higher companies. It's I don't know. It's like a really terrible system. I feel.
No, I've heard that too. People will say that we are the ads because
Yeah.
people, it's like, yeah, you're paying for this ad to show up on Instagram or wherever, Twitter, but the fact that we're seeing it, that is worth more money than it costs to produce the ad. So we are then, like being the consumer, we become the ad. I watched that in the Netflix movie. Y'all probably seen it. It's like The Social Network or something like that. Yeah, that's where I heard that. I might be butchering the saying, but yeah, I know that what you're talking about.
I had a thought. I lost it though. Oh yeah. Like targeted ads, like they like, I guess those are more like guaranteed to make money. And I just saw a TikTok about like I don't know if you've seen the people who like grab the phone and they're like Prada, Gucci, Gucci.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because, I mean, with the whole like targeted ad thing, you might think that something that you're really into is popular because of what you see on your feed and like the whole algorithm thing. It shows you people who are just like your aesthetic or whatever. So I could very well be thinking that I'm in line with trends, but maybe it'll change in a couple of years because of the way that everything is so like curated to one single person, like for your devices. Maybe it'll change to where it's not too much of a herd. Or maybe it'll get worse because we think that we're like, we have like a niche little thing, but we actually don't. I don't know. I'm contradicting myself the more that I talk,
but it makes
it's
sense.
a really confusing
Yeah,
thing.
no, definitely makes sense.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm like, oh, like, well, I mean, I was just looking up like, I don't even know, I was looking up like fur coats or like jackets or something like that, and then I just see like all these ads or something. Like it's so crazy. Like it's like I'm like, wait, what the heck? I literally just looked this up, and it's just like all I see are these ads, and I'm like, but then sometimes I'm like, oh wait, I like that. Like I do find some things eventually. I'm like, I kind of like having some of the ads sometimes because like I'm looking for a while, and then I'm like, oh okay, I see.
I was
Like,
just
exactly.
talking to my sister about a jacket I had seen, so I was like going through all my ads. Like I was literally just scrolling through Instagram to try to find an ad of a jacket. But it's kind of crazy. Like I don't know if this has happened to you guys, but like I'll have a conversation with like a friend, and then like whatever we were talking about, like I'll get like an ad for it, and it just like it's honestly kind of scary. Like
No,
our
it's terrifying.
technology is just listening.
Bad, but sometimes I swear I don't say anything out loud. I'll think it in my head. Like this has happened before. Like I have like a significant story of me. I like was imagining that I got a wig out of real hair once because I was like, I could look like Hannah Montana, whatever. Like with the bangs. And I didn't say it out loud. And the next minute I'm scrolling through my phone and it's an ad about like real hair wigs.
Oh.
And I was just like, what do you do with that? That's like unnerving to me. But
it's the vaccine. So last question, because I think we're running out of time. How do you see and or experience newer forms of homogenization through media pop culture?
I think I see it a lot in TikTok, but that just probably because that's like probably the biggest social media right now currently. I feel like everybody's like, you know, like having the same style, like the white Nike Air Force Ones, the sweatpants. Like, I feel like there's like that has a lot of, and like how they do like the whole algorithm, they like match everything that you want. Like, so I feel like that definitely has, TikTok has a lot to do with it, like social media in general too.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, the whole ad thing, we were mentioning that for a while. And then also, even on, if y'all ever check your little Snapchat news stories, I think it's huge in media. I think it's huge on the news. Like, I kind of have a hard time trusting most of like the articles that I read now, depending on like where it's coming from and stuff. But I always have to remind myself to like do a little fact check in my brain because I'm like, they really want to be pushing this right now. You know, like whenever you're a journalist, you like have a whole cycle of what to talk about, and you're obviously going to push the story that'll get the most attention, that'll like sell. So everything to me is just someone trying to sell something to get someone to buy it, and I feel like I'm always the one buying it. So I do kind of see it a lot in media, and I especially on my Snapchat, like that little ads from like the People magazine and E News or whatever. It's always talking about the Kardashians or some TikTok drama. And I'm like, why do y'all care? Because you want us to download the app and you want to make money on the app because you just bought it from China. Like,
Yeah. For sure. I mean, like, whenever like a trend goes big on social, it's honestly it's because everybody's on social media every day. Like, if we weren't, we probably would be a little bit more like individualistic, but we all follow like the same trends. We do the same TikTok dances. Like, we're all becoming, I mean, like, sure, like some people are different in their own way, but like we're all kind of the same, you know?
I feel like it used to be social media, but like, or before social media, I think it used to be TV and movies is where people kind of like got that same style. But now that social media is so much easier to access and a lot more like younger people have that. So I feel like it's definitely affecting us.
I agree. So, what should we do for our product? I'm gonna stop recording.